Lights out on the hour. It is the hour of the time. Lights out for the curfew of your body, soul, and mind.
You're listening to the Hour of the Time. I'm your host, William Cooper, for Swiss America Trading. In 1976, folks, we had an economy struggling out of recession. We had low interest rates, cheap gold, and depressed hard assets. We elected a president that was a Southern liberal Democratic governor, a Washington outsider. He had an ultra-liberal running mate, promised to tax big corporations, promised more and better jobs, and to use more government spending to stimulate the economy. Well, all this sounds very similar to the president we just elected, doesn't it? Between 1976 and 1980, the inflation rate soared to double digits. Wise investors sought the protection of gold and silver, which ultimately went up over 500%. Now, if you feel that paper assets will be safe for the next 4 years, then you can ignore this offer. If your assets are protected against high inflation, high interest rates, a possible currency recall, or government collapse, then relax. You've got nothing to worry about. If you feel the government is going to look out for your best interest, then don't call. But if you're like me and many others who've really studied the economy and who really know who the Federal Reserve really represents and what they really are, and what part the IRS plays, then call Swiss America at 1-800-289-2646. That's 1-800-289-2646. One more time, folks. 1-800-289-2646. Do it now and have the experts there show you how to protect yourself. Call 1-800-289-2646. That's 1-800-289-2646. Mention my name, William Cooper, and they'll send you a free newsletter on protecting your future. Call today, folks, 1-800-289-2646. The men and women who created the United States of America left Europe to escape religious persecution and to gain freedom in a new land. We fought many battles for that freedom, the bridge at Concord. Remember the Alamo? Well, in the months and years, American patriots will have a new rallying cry as another group of brave Americans resist the encroaching tyranny of a new world order to maintain their religious freedom and their right to keep and bear arms. The rallying cry, remember Waco. Welcome to the Hour of the Time, Nancy LaRosa. Where are you right now?
Right now, Phoenix, Arizona.
And how did you get mixed up in this Waco, Texas thing?
Well, I live in Dallas, Texas, and I was on assignment in Honolulu, Hawaii, helping Eric Leiter do some troubleshooting on a property situation out there when I heard the news report about the siege happening, the BATF attacking that church group in Waco, and I asked him to put together a citizen's arrest on Governor Ann Richards for not stopping that ordeal.
And who is Eric Leiter?
Eric Leiter is the man who lives in Honolulu, but he is the author of the original citizen's arrest, which was served in the Ruby Creek situation this past fall that saved the life of Randy Weaver.
Okay. And how long after this began did you actually get involved?
As I heard about the siege, we got the paperwork up and running. We served notice and filed the papers in Dallas, Texas, which now does bring it before the federal grand jury. And I have a civil number to give you, 3-93CV0440-X. This was filed in the District Court of Northern Texas regarding this terrible situation in Waco.
Did you do this from Hawaii?
No, sir. We served it right in Dallas, Texas.
And what date did you arrive in Dallas?
Let me look. That was actually on March 4.
March 4th. So you were there early in the beginning of this.
Right at the start.
Okay. And did you get any opposition from anyone while you were there? Did anyone?
None whatsoever. We walked right on in and did what we had to do. Eric Leiter and myself served notice on the Texas Rangers also for not doing their duties or taking care of their responsibilities regarding this Waco situation. They have the authority in the sovereign state of Texas to say, feds, you have no right to do this here. Drop your arms. This is Texas, Republic, and there will be no more bloodshed here. And when we saw that no one was responding, it was a friendly citizen's arrest. We mean no harm. We are not a violent group, but we do honor the Constitution. We, as Constitution Coalition, a lobby group, proceeded accordingly to get the work done.
And what were you told by the Texas Rangers?
They had said to us that they had been deputized by the federal government.
So we're, in effect, federal officers.
Yes, and they were not happy that we did serve them notice. I have copies of what we served on the Texas Rangers. If anyone would like to have a copy of what we have done or what has been filed, they can call or write me.
Great. And how can they reach you, Nancy?
Okay. Answering service number is 214-606-3570. And the mailing address is 25 Highland Park Village, Suite 248, Dallas, Texas, 75205.
Okay, can you repeat that all just one more time, just in case somebody didn't get it down?
You got it. 214-606-3570 is my answering service. And the address is 25 Highland Park Village, Suite 248, Dallas, Texas, 75205. I also have a picture for the people of when we served notice on the BATF, things that the newspaper has not printed. I've got some pictures here of the compound and some interesting material that I think your folks would like to see and hear about.
So, Nancy, I keep getting this from everyone when I travel across the country in my lectures and when I try to stimulate people to action. I'm told by people that, quote, I'm just a poor one little person out here and I'm up against these terrible odds and there's nothing that I can do, unquote. What do you have to say about that?
Oh, there is absolutely something that the people can do. They can call or write the Governor Ann Richards. I can find that 800 number. They can request that these things would, in fact, be done properly, that mediation opportunities be listened to. I have got a medical team all put together for negotiating the safe release and harbor for the David Koresh people. I've also we've analyzed the sermons of David Koresh. We have found him to be more from the Seventh-day Adventist. I've had some theologians analyze his sermons. He's not in a cult. Seems to be, according to his sermons of Revelations, quite in line, in fact, more of a Pentecostal Seventh-day Adventist group. And I just want to go and say in his defense, according to the Constitution, that the people have their right to their faith. So I'd like people to call or write in to Governor Ann Richards or to the BATF or to the FBI and say, why not do a mediation? Why not try to work this out peaceably? We need to do a peaceable voice and mail blitz and showing, in fact, writing the newspapers and stations saying and pressing in for my motto has been no more bloodshed. That is my personal motto. No more bloodshed. Stop this war.
Well, unfortunately, we know that if people don't wake up, there's going to be lots more bloodshed as the New World Order attempts to exert its authority over all of us and bring about their version of the totalitarian utopia that they've always dreamed of. Nancy, when you first went to Dallas, you went down to, when you got back from Hawaii, you went down to Waco. How did you get inside the lines?
With the press pass, it's a press pass of Eric Leiter.
Need you to talk a lot louder.
I'm sorry. Eric Leiter has a press pass, and I drove my vehicle, and we just went right on in. We stopped at their checkpoint.
Did anybody give you any problems at all?
No problems whatsoever. They checked over his press pass, and we just went right on in. We went and visited all the different media and handed out a press release informing the people of what's really going on.
And the media being there, why haven't they reported any of the true facts? And why are we hearing all of these blatant, slanderous lies that the press is putting out to the American people and to the world? What is their defense?
Very, very much intimidation. The London Skynet was very interested in putting an interview of myself on the air, and it was supposed to be done at 5 o'clock the next morning. And about a little earlier than that, I called in to see if everything was all right. And they told me that they had been very intimidated, that the BATF was moving their lines, shortening it up, and he said it would be too dangerous for me to go in.
What did he mean by too dangerous?
He himself even had, his job had been threatened, and we did not, of course, want to jeopardize anybody. There was too much jeopardy, too much a lot of weapons down there. The checkpoint itself, the pictures that I've sent to you and faxed to you show you that it's one mean machine. When we serve notice on the BATF, they have armored personnel carriers there with cannons on them, for crying out loud. This was no easy thing, and if we were going to be jeopardizing someone's job, or if they had been intimidated, or if he had warned me by saying it was too dangerous, I was not going to take a high risk at getting myself hurt.
Well,
I did not go.
I understand, but these are supposed to be law enforcement people who protect and serve the American people. Why would they hurt someone with firearms who's just there performing their job as a member of the press? Who, in fact, was issuing these threats to the press?
The BATF. The BATF was the one that was responsible for moving the lines and causing the London Skynet journalists to feel intimidated.
And so he was afraid for his job, and others were afraid for their job?
Exactly.
Well, I got news for the press. If any of you are listening, I don't give a damn about any of your jobs when these kinds of things are taking place, especially when we're so eager to send our sons and daughters to die in the sands of some godforsaken country in the Middle East that has nothing to do with the United States of America or the Constitution. And these brave people in Waco, Texas, are under siege by our own federal government. I'm sorry, but I just can't get excited about your stupid jobs. Nancy, what do you gather from the whole attitude of the press there? Did you get the attitude that their jobs were more important to them than the Constitution or the lives of those people inside that compound?
I feel that the BATF is a bunch of rogue folks. They are more like a series of rednecks that are gun happy. They are out to persecute, premeditated, and I think that the BATF has caused the FBI an awful lot of heartache and bad reputation, and I think that the people are in a good position right now to enforce and demand the protection and a peaceable end, and the protection of the people, in fact, that have already been coming out of there. From what we have known during wartime and the rights of even prisoners during proclaimed war, we know that denying food and water and the light routine that they've been doing on these people that interrupt the sleep patterns, the poisoned milk on the babies, these kind of tactics, we don't even treat our enemies that way. And the citizens of America should start to write in or call in to the Governor Ann Richards, to the Texas Rangers, to the FBI and asked them to please stop this and to make sure that the people get treated right, and in fact even be held accountable for these people's lives. If anyone mysteriously dies at this point in time, I think the citizens ought to put their say in this by calling and writing.
Nancy, you mentioned several things that just set alarms off in my head, and I know that all my listeners are sitting on the edge of their chairs wanting to know what all of this means. You said several things, including poisoned milk. You said refusal of food and water and medical supplies. Now, we know that when this first started, there was a press release right after these agents were killed. This press release stated that the reason that they went in there was that they heard from some member of this, what they called a cult overseas, that informed the State Department that they were all going to commit mass suicide. Now, if that were true, then it should have been local authorities and not the federal bureaucracy that sent troops in there. But, of course, we know what has transpired. We also know that they lost 4 federal agents and several wounded, and it was the federal government that called for a ceasefire so that they could remove their dead and wounded, and the church members allowed them to do that. They were then labeled as terrorists after they had committed a humanitarian act to allow the federal forces to remove their dead and wounded, and then they asked for food and water and medical supplies and were refused. Now, in my eyes, that makes the federal forces the terrorists and not the churchgoers inside who were actually raided during a church service. Is that correct?
That is correct. It started on a Sunday morning, and it was pre-planned. From what the reports have is that the BATF they have filming devices on them, and by satellite that the siege has been filmed, which proves that the entry was made and started by the BATF. And from the reports that we have, and it's been documented, there have been some hackers that have intercepted this transmission of this, and where a little 6-year-old girl ran out of the nursery and had been machine gunned in half, thus alerting and startling the nursery as these mercenary murderers came upon and attacked this nursery on a Sunday morning. The 2 older women in their 70s grabbed the guns, defending themselves and the children. And yes, some agents had been killed, but in self-defense, according to what the videotapes have proven.
So this is on videotape?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Also, all of our information from all of the sources available are clear on one thing, that the people who belong to the church known as Branch Davidian did not fire any shots first, that it was the federal forces who fired the first shots, and that David Koresh had even come outside to see what was going on, and was unarmed and raised his hands and said, "Don't shoot, don't shoot," and they shot him, and he ran back inside. Is this correct?
That is correct. That is a correct report. And David Koresh was wounded, and that's another, they had a nurse within their complex, their church area, but they were denied medical help, which means that all of this time, I'd like the ladies and gentlemen of your listening audience to know that these people have been denied medical assistance, which means if anyone knows about wounds that go unattended, I don't want to go into a lot of gruesome detail, but gangrene and a lot of other terrible things with a lack of water, no electricity. What a terrible situation for our government to participate in, let alone be part of.
Well, this is certainly not my government, I guarantee you. I am a citizen of my state, and I have nothing to do and will not accept these creeps as my government ever. My government doesn't act that way. Nancy, what do you think is the ultimate aim? We know that they've sealed the warrants. It's impossible to get any information from the government. When we call the BATF in Washington, D.C., they hang up on us. When we call the FBI, they will not give us any information. What do you think the goal is? Why did they do this?
I think that the connection has been made by Eric Leiter and myself doing an investigation. We've conferenced quite a bit in why is all of this being done. And as we take a look and probe into the Ruby Creek in Idaho, the Randy Weaver thing, now the Waco thing, and I've been setting up on the Danny Casolero situation, the Inslaw octopus situation, the John F. Kennedy murder. I have found a thread of names, dates, places, documentation with that would connect the New World Order is behind this. Their way of getting the middle-class person and the group of people, whether they're not just patriots, but Christians, the middle-class people have to be kept more under control. And this is definitely the end times that we've all been concerned about, but we are in it. It is the New World Order.
Well, that certainly confirms everything that we've heard and know. We know, for instance, that the Randy Weaver case was a shock test to see if patriots would stand by and allow it to happen, and of course they did, much to their shame, deep shame, and that gave them the go-ahead, and now they're persecuting a much larger group, and we know that this is tied directly to Christianity and to the right to keep and bear arms. What this is coming out as to the sheeple of the world who don't have the brains or the common sense to understand that something is wrong, they're getting the impression that Christians are wild, crazy fanatics and that they're stockpiling weapons and are going to be a threat to peaceful, law-abiding citizens. And that's not the case at all, is it?
No, it is not the case. I have to say, actually, if we take a look at this, that the siege situation where people are raids, whether it be the IRS or BATF or groups of the government within the government, whoever is actually instigating this, whether it's Sessions or Higgins or any of these other fellows that are supposed to be in control and authorize this stuff, or if they sit back and watch somebody else pulling the strings and allowing premeditated murder on Americans, the American people can and do have an obligation as witnessing the situation. They can partake and back up what is being done. We've got the case now before the grand jury of Texas, okay? America needs to know this. We do plan on taking the BATF and the prosecution of this New World Order, and for us to be able to say this may not be, should not be, and is not allowed. We don't want that to happen to our people and to us. And when we sit back and watch the stuff or become aware of this stuff, we have an obligation under the law to write in, call in, write an affidavit saying that you are aware. Send your affidavits to me. We will attach it to exhibits. We will make the people the voice of America be heard. We will cause the people in America to become congressional witnesses, to send it affidavits, make sure they're notarized, send me their opinions on paper. Let me hear from America on backing us up as we try to shut down this action that hurts the people. We will do this in a nonviolent way. We will do it as a lobby group. We will do this as a good and wholesome way to proceed, saying this is not the way that the founding fathers intended America to go, and we stand up for our constitutional rights and our God-given privileges and rights, and we will stand.
But Nancy, I hope you realize that everything that you've just said is an anathema to those in government today, and they don't recognize God. They don't recognize founding fathers. For instance, on the cabinet of the president, William Clinton, there is a woman who, while she was the head of a university in her state before she was appointed to the cabinet, issued a memorandum to all of the staff and faculty and students of the university that they were never, ever to be permitted to use the words founding fathers or forefathers at any time while they worked for or attended that university. Now, what kind of a government is going to respond to this kind of a plea that you're talking about when these kind of people are sitting up on the president's cabinet?
It's going to be an interesting end times, as Revelations has predicted. According to what we know, as history does repeat itself, our founding fathers, as well as people in the last 2 years, have been standing up more for their rights, doing it in an honorable way, making the needs known to the officials. But at the same time, I would like to have as many people come forward that would like to run for office in their states. We need more Christian, constitutional thinking men and women to run for offices. We need more good constitutional thinking policemen with good and upright bringing, with moral standards and inner strength to do what is right and to make solid decisions. We need more of the middle class, if you will, people to stand up and run for public office. And anyone that is interested in helping to support, sponsor, or even run themselves, I would like to hear from them. I would like to stir up America and see who is out there that would like to partake in a survival of our beautiful, God-blessed country. This is a wonderful country. We cannot let it just kind of wither. We've lost too many lives already. We've had too many wars fought. We've had men and women die from the previous wars. I adjure the veterans. I beseech the people. I'll stir you up to write me, write your congressman, write the president, write the Texas Rangers, write the FBI, saying we will stand for what is right. We will do this.
Well, there are many voices out there who agree with you and are trying to do that. That's certainly the purpose of this radio program.
Yes, sir.
Although we try to approach it from strictly a factual and a constitutional point of view, allowing everyone to certainly worship at the altar of their choice.
Exactly.
I believe that that's absolutely important in this country. But we see so many people, Nancy, who just sit back and don't want to take part, who are afraid to take part, who tell me that if they stand up or if they attend this meeting or if they do this or that, they're going to get on somebody's list and they might lose their job. Now, these are the same people who pat their sons and daughters on the butt and send them off to die in the desert in the Middle East for something that has absolutely nothing to do with this country. They'll do that and welcome them home with a great parade and all this ticker tape floating down and everything, but they will not stand up here in their own country and fight for their own country when it's needed. They shrink back in terror, get in bed, pull the covers up over their head and say, oh no, not me, let somebody else take care of it. What do you think about this type of person?
The person that says that the problem will go away or that there is no problem is only fooling themselves. The people that would say that there is no need or that this is not really happening or this possibly cannot be happening, I want America to know that we are doing this in a decent and in a legal way. If they would write and or call me, I would be willing to send to them documentation, and I'm sure any information that you too have to add to this. I'm open to receiving even further information. What I would like to do is inform the people of what is really going on out there with documentation, that it is out there, and what they can now, once we become informed, then we become aware, then we become, let's just say it's our right to say, if this is indeed really happening, then what shall we do? What can we do? Let us brainstorm. The word says, come let us reason. Let's get this thing solved. I also want to mention here, too, that there is room for everyone to be stirred up towards life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. This is our right to do this. And there is a group, the Right to Life. We have the veterans. We have the elderly groups and nurses' aid homes, the nursing homes. Every group and every age has a piece of this activity because, you know, as we raise our children, and you're right about this, you know, pat little Johnny or Mariana on the head as they go out the door to school, you know, because we love the children, because we care for those in the children that would come after us and for our future generations, we must secure this freedom. And if we feel that our freedom is being stolen, I think it's a very foolish group of people to say, oh, that can't be happening. In a peaceable and in a serious way, I would say anyone that would have any serious doubts, please write me also.
Well, folks, it's that time again. We've got to take a break. I'll be right back after this very short pause.
I would like to send them documentation, and I'd like to send them some proof.
Why don't you give your phone number and your address again, Nancy?
Yes, sir. Answering service is 214-606-3570. The address is 25 Highland Park Village, Suite 248, Dallas, Texas, 75205. Anyone that wants to participate and be part of the lobby group that has something that is real, liable, documented, write and call. Anyone that wants to help to sponsor. Anyone that perhaps is a veteran and cannot get out and feels, what could we do? They can help by I'll show them how. We can get you hooked up into a paralegal course so you can learn to do research. We need funding. We need the support. Everyone has a place in this. No one is left out.
Are you acting on your own, Nancy, or are you part of a group?
I am basically I'm on my own, but I am a member of the Constitution Coalition, which is a political legal lobby group. It's with Eric Leiter and myself, and we also have a group in Hawaii that is active, and also Phoenix, Arizona.
Do you know Danny in Hawaii?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Okay. Nancy, can you tell us more about what's happening in Waco, Texas? For instance, how did you find out what was going on inside that compound?
Well,
that's not really a compound, is it? It's a church.
I was just going to say, I caught that. The news media has been calling it a compound, but I'd like to repeat that the theologians and the religious leaders have all been checking into the sermons and the statements of David Koresh, and it is not in a cult. It is more of a branch of the Seventh-day Adventists, if you will.
Well, it doesn't even make any difference. No matter what they are, they have a right to worship whatever they want to worship under our Constitution.
That's exactly right, and that's where we are standing, and that's where it's got my interest. If they start to talk about violating someone's right to serve the Lord or to have their faith the way that they would want to, that could happen to anyone. Remember Dr. Everett Sullivan. Remember Randy Weaver. Everett Sullivan, a few years back, was arrested right off the pulpit. If anyone says this cannot be done, call me or write me, and I'll send you documentation that this is actually happening. Dr. Everett Sullivan was arrested right off the pulpit, folks.
Yeah, I believe it's going to happen more and more across the country, because I believe the number one target is to completely destroy Christianity, number one. Number two is to take all of the weapons away from the American people. And then, of course, any other religion that doesn't kowtow and bow down. I believe that Orthodox Jews, I believe that the followers of the Nation of Islam, I believe that anyone who belongs to any religion that will not conform to the New World religion, which is going to be a humanist religion, changing with the needs of man rather than obeying the morals, principles set forth in the Ten Commandments are as taught to us by our religious teachings. I believe they're going to be annihilated or placed into work camps and will not be allowed in the New World Order, which we know is going to be a totalitarian socialist state, much like what Hitler had planned. And Hitler was a socialist, and Nazi means National Socialism. And it just tears me apart when I hear socialists calling people who want less government, less control, and more freedoms Nazis, when in fact they themselves are the real Nazis. What was it that you filed in court exactly, Nancy?
Well, what we have filed in court is bringing the BATF and the corrupt officials before the grand jury. The process has been started, and the case number is civil case 393CV0440-X, and it's filed in the U.S. District Court for the northern part of Texas.
Now, how do we know that the court is going to follow up on this and actually do something?
Oh, we have, I've got paralegal people on this, and we're cracking it, and they will be made aware of it. Also, we have got this, as a congressional witnesses, we've got this filed in Congress also. We've got the Federal Register. I've got that for you. It's, let's see here, the Federal Register of 53191. We've been tracking the INS law and the New World Order activities. We filed complaints, and it's P24836 through 24838.
Okay. Now, we've been asking the listeners to phone the White House, to phone their senators and their representatives at least 3 times a day, write letters 3 times a day to everyone concerning this, demanding a full congressional investigation, and not stop until a congressional investigation is actually convened. We know that if they get away with what they're doing in Waco, Texas, that it is, in fact, the end of the United States of America, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and will, in fact, give them the green light to persecute and destroy any group that they feel needs to be destroyed so that the New World Order can come into its own. And this is not just some isolated case of some cult members being raided by the feds because they've done something wrong. These people, in fact, have committed no crime, have broken no laws. In fact, what they've done is practice their own religion. They have exercised their right to keep and bear arms under the Second Article and Amendment to the Constitution. They've exercised their rights under the Article 1 of the Constitution. And this is really an attempt to further grant more powers to the authoritarian New World Order, which is coming into its own, or trying to come into its own. And if we allow this to go by, if we allow this to happen, then no one is safe. Would you agree with that?
That's absolutely correct. And in response to that, I'd like to give the people some phone numbers. I've got it handy here. The Texas Rangers number in Waco and the fax number.
Okay, go ahead.
It's 817-754-2303. That's their telephone. And their fax number is 817-799-9443. And the next number I think you all will be very interested to have, hopefully put it to some good use, is the War Room. The FBI and the BATF have set up a war room.
Well, it is a war. Most Americans don't understand this, but we are at war right now, just as we were at war when we fought the Battle of Concord.
And if you want to be able to get in touch with the FBI and the BATF, the number in Waco, it's 817-799-5211. I have these numbers because we've been serving notice and served these people personally, face-to-face. And so I happen to have kept a record of their phone numbers, and I would like to have the folks also call or write Governor Ann Richards, but her phone number is 512-463-1849.
Can you repeat that one more time, please?
Yes. Governor Ann Richards of Texas, 512-463-1849. And also the comments line for the White House, the President of the United States, okay?
Okay.
202-456-1111. And I am a paralegal, and I would like to urge the people to do this as decent, no bad language, to do it honorable, and with their constitutional rights and privileges, to say what is on your mind, that you disagree with any more bloodshed, no more bloodshed, that you're against the New World Order, that against the BATF, against any more raids, seizures, and shenanigans.
And that you want a complete and full congressional investigation convened as soon as possible. And until it's convened, a complete ceasefire in Waco, Texas, and no more people killed because of the zeal of the persecution of American citizens who are exercising their rights under the Constitution. That's what you should demand. and you should be doing it right now. And remember, we ask that you call each of these people 3 times each day, every single one of you, and write as many letters as you possibly can every single day. Don't stop, don't slow down, don't get discouraged. And please, folks, I don't want to hear this. I'm just one lonely little person. What can I do? Because you've seen what I can do. They told me I could never have my own radio program. They told me years ago that I would never be able to accomplish what I've accomplished. You see what Nancy LaRosa has accomplished. She is just one lonely little person just like the rest of you. She bleeds. She gets scared. You've seen Eric Leiter. You've seen also our friend that we interviewed last night on the radio, what he has accomplished. You've heard in my first broadcast what our other friend has accomplished, who went in and served them with papers and was surrounded and harassed and threatened. But we're getting things done, and we are making a difference, and you too can stand up and make a difference. Or you can just sit back and go limp while the chains are put around your ankles.
I wanted to share with you some of the original ideas that I had about communicating, trying to get a way to help these people. I set up a medical and a relief team, and we've been trying to get communication going with the federal government and to try to get these people to negotiate a peaceable and protective way for David Koresh and that entire church. And so we were on the air with the Ron Engelman show in Dallas, Texas. Had scheduled that from Hawaii, as a matter of fact. I jumped right on that situation fast. As a jury selector, I knew that somebody had to start to intervene. And we got through by signaling, and it was done by coding. I asked over the air if David Koresh had any way of hearing this radio program, would he please respond by maybe moving the satellite dish or something. And we had some, you've heard of court watchers, of course. Well, we had some watchers down there with binoculars, and we had contact down there calling in saying, yes, the satellite dish did move. So we proceeded to ask questions like, do you need help? Do you want help? Do you need medical attention? Well, the satellite dish moved from Galaxy 1 to Galaxy 6 to Galaxy 1, which, of course, was mentioned on the air. We said, don't move the dish if it's a no, and if it's a yes, go from Galaxy 1 6 to 1. And, of course, the response came back via our watchers that the dish was moving like crazy with a yes, going, moving noticeably, okay? We've got this on video. Then the other thing is, he did ask for help. He said, yes, he wanted help. Yes, he needed medical attention. Yes, they were low on food. The transcript can be gotten from the Ron Engelman show in Dallas, Texas. It was with Nancy LaRosa, Eric Leiter, and it was my idea to have Al Dax. I invited Al on because he's very much into some patriotic and constitutional issues, and it was a very informative and productive program, and the first time there was communication, other than telephone, because guess what, folks in America, the phones have been cut out. There's only one way of communicating, and that's right with the feds. David Koresh is one tremendous person under siege down there, and he too bleeds and is concerned and has a soul and is alive. And again, I want to stir this up, and I will stir this up. We believe in a right to life. We believe that there is life at, from what age on do we say? Well, how about a 30 or 40 or 50-year-old person? Charge of hundreds of people. And what would we do in a situation like that? I think we'd do pretty close to the same thing. And it must be terrible to look out the window, armored tanks aiming at them. What a horrendous sight. Let's let America put ourselves, let's role play, if you will. Let's put ourselves in his shoes and see what it feels like for just 2 minutes. For anybody that wants to be asleep and say, oh, this can't be happening, pretend it's you for 2 seconds to see how you like it, and then get involved.
Well, certainly nobody in the United States ever thought that they would ever see the day when anything like this would happen. And I think everybody is beginning to realize that these aren't just some cult lawbreakers in there, because they're obviously standing upon principle, or they wouldn't have been in there this long. And they certainly weren't planning mass suicide, or they would have done it by now while the whole world was watching them. What a more opportune time to commit mass suicide. Has anybody followed up on this method of communication and tried to get the real story from those inside as to what really happened by asking the questions and moving the satellite dish for the answers? Because we know what happened in the Randy Weaver case, that when the feds got their hands on Randy Weaver, that no more stories came out from any other source than from the federal government. So if these people don't get a chance to tell their story now, if they're taken into custody, they probably never will get a chance to tell their story. In the Randy Weaver case and in others, everything is sealed. Nobody even knows what's being said in the courtroom. How are we going to know that these people are treated properly? How are we going to know what the truth is if we don't get that truth now?
Interesting enough, America needs to know. A lot of Texans have the right to have guns in their home, and
every American, not just Texas, but every American has the right to keep and bear arms.
Right.
Period.
Right, and so they claim that the BITF wanted to be able to search or to be able to find a way to, with this warrant has been sealed and no one has been able to find out exactly what the BITF was after. And Eric Leiter, after giving it much thought, and filed in the federal court and with the necessary officials that if indeed David Koresh's church owed any kind of, if liable, taxes regarding these arms or weapons or whatever the accusations were, the Constitution Coalition would either, to help negotiation, would stand behind the man and say, if it's over taxes, if it's over issues, if it's over guns, we will help. Let's solve this honorably.
But Nancy, we know that they don't want that, because if that's all that it was over, and if it was over what they told us in the first place, that these people were going to commit mass suicide, they would have never stormed their church firing weapons and throwing grenades and gas grenades inside their church. They would have merely simply waited until David Koresh went into town, and they would have arrested him and set him down and talked to him. Or they would have called for someone to meet with them at a neutral location like the mayor's office in Waco, Texas, where they could have had some kind of a dialogue. But that's not what these people are after, and they're not going to listen to any kind of proposals like that, because they've already let us know what it is that they want. They want a confrontation. They want the world to see Christians with guns in their hands taking on the federal government, and they want to be able to squash that kind of a thing so that they can cow everyone else into thinking twice before they ever resist the New World Order. It's about force. It's about power. It's about taking guns away. It's about destroying the Christian church in this country.
That's right. That's exactly right. And it's interesting to note that the Constitution Coalition stepped forward, and there is no reason for the siege to continue if a group of people have legally come and stood by the side of fellow Americans that were in trouble and say, we will help you. If we can help foreigners and foreign countries send food overseas, then certainly it is not so wrong to lend a hand to someone in trouble. And to anyone that might think it's far-fetched or David Koresh is a cult and he deserves to die, I believe that kind of talk is what's going to sink America. I believe that if we can help our enemies and send food to foreign countries, then certainly I would like to stir up America to say, cannot we help our own? What is wrong? Why is it supposed to be such an outlandish thing to say and reach out a hand to someone who is in trouble? I think it's a Christian and a godly thing to do, to say, we are here to help you. We are here.
Well, I would agree with that. What has happened to you, Nancy, since you've gotten involved in this?
3 days after we filed the citizen's arrest on Governor Ian Richards, my home had been rifled through and missing a lot of my equipment. And so I have just continued investigations in Phoenix. I'm on the road now. But yes, there's been that attack here. Leiter is investigating that. It seems like it was a BATF sting. He has some proof to backtrack on that there have been some infiltrators. There have been some folks, we have names, documentation, some people saying things and causing damage and harm. And yes, we are documenting that, and yes, we're fully aware of that. But yeah, just a little trouble, nothing new.
Have you been threatened?
Yes, I have.
And what are these threats?
Some of the threats have been that there are some folks in America that would like to gun me down. I just as soon not go into that over the air, but that's nothing new for those that don't understand the situation or that don't like the truth to become known. Sorry, the truth will become known, and God is on my side.
Well, we certainly admire you and what you have done, and I know that there's a lot of people out there who've been sitting around saying, well, I'm just one lonely little person. There's nothing I can do. I'm not going to get involved. I think they've got egg on their face now because they can see that you're doing something. You got involved. You've been threatened. Your home has been broken into and your equipment and personal belongings have been stolen. But you are persevering nonetheless because you believe that what you're fighting for is worth more than all of that. And, of course, many, many other people also. Not near enough as we need to make sure that we survive what's coming. But certainly a lot of people are out here on the battlefield with me and with you, and we are fighting a battle. The United States is in trouble. The Constitution is in danger. The Bill of Rights are being destroyed on a constant, continuing basis. And unless more people stand up, in fact, unless all of us stand up and say enough, no more, this will signal, if those people in Waco, Texas, lose this battle, it will signal once for all completely the end of this nation as we have always known it. And I believe that it will signal the beginning of what eventually will become a full-blown civil war with patriots with guns in hands fighting against those who want to bring about the New World Order and destroy our Creator-endowed rights. What have you got to say about that, Nancy?
I agree with what you're saying. That statement actually is a shrill one. It causes the imagination of war to be stirred, and anyone that loves their God, their family, in that order, and their lives, what they're doing, their homes, the whole purpose for existence. It is time to become more aware and to do what we can and not to be afraid and to continue on in the ways what we know to continue. Become more informed and don't be afraid to participate in, like I say, calling and writing and starting, I call it a caring campaign, okay? If we do not, America has started. I don't believe it's just recently. I believe this, like I said earlier, this has not just been for a few weeks. It's been for many years now, creeping in like a plague. And I believe that there have been infiltrators in this country, this God-blessed country, and they are out to do good people harm.
They're out to destroy this country and everything that we believe in. Nancy, I want to thank you for being our very special guest tonight. And for all of you out there, I want you to get active. I want you to help us. We must stop this. We must head off any kind of a war in this country, civil war or otherwise. And I'm telling you right now, if you don't listen, it's going to happen. Let's do it now while we have the power, the opportunity, and the chance to make the future what we want it, legally and peacefully. Because there are those who would love to go to war over this. And I'm telling you that it's coming unless we can stop it with peaceful means now. So stand up and be counted.
Well, folks, once again, you're hearing it here and nowhere else. On no other media, radio station, or print will you ever hear the truth about Waco, Texas, only on the hour of the time. And you might start asking your local media and your TV stations and your radio stations, why is it that you only hear it on the hour of the time? Why? Are we so far gone that we can't even get the truth from those who are supposed to be giving it to us? Well, folks, the answer to that question is yes, absolutely, we are. We are on the brink of a precipice, and we're about to fall off. Those brave, lonely, scared, wounded people in Waco, Texas, are the only thing standing between you and slavery right at this moment. And if they lose, you can kiss it all goodbye. I'm telling you, right now, you can kiss it all goodbye if they lose that battle down there. If this is the way things are going to be, and if an American family is going to accept it, if all of you out there are going to allow this to happen, and if this is what we can expect in the future, it's all over. There is no United States of America. You might as well all go to Washington right now, break open the case, tear out the Constitution, rip it to shreds, and stomp it into the dust. Folks, this is the line. It's been drawn, and a war has begun, whether you like it or not. It's the truth. Good night, and God bless you all. And for those of you members of Branch Davidian who are under siege, fighting a brave battle at this moment, God bless you and keep you safe.